Alright, today I have two battles lined up for you to continue our series on dinosaur battles for the Jurassic universe. This is a randomly generated bracket, and we're still in the first round of the fights. And today we have Ankylosaurus versus the Jurassic World Raptor squad. We're going to use the 2001 Ankylosaurus. I'll explain why in a minute. And the Spinoceratops, or Sinospino, against the Atrociraptor squad from Jurassic World Dominion. The first fight I'm going to go over is the Ankylosaurus versus the Jurassic World Raptor squad. I'll take these creatures one at a time and then explain why I think which one would win. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly since our last episode was super long and it kept getting copyrighted for clips and I had to repost it about 5 times. So let's start with the Ankylosaurus. The Ankylosaurus in the Jurassic universe was created for the amalgam testing in 1999 or possibly 2000 and was added to the Isla Sorna ecosystem even though that was illegal under the Gene Guard Act at the time. That version of Ankylosaurus had black armor with red patches on its face, and it appears to me to be a little shorter than the Jurassic World Ankylosaurus and perhaps a little bit bulkier. The Jurassic World Ankylosaurus was created for Jurassic World, but was also not a main attraction. It was kept in a side exhibit off to the side, hinting that it may have still been a at least partially illegal species at the time. The Ankylosaurus was a heavily armored creature, and in Fallen Kingdom was referred to as
living tank.
Unfortunately, the Ankylosaurus doesn't get a lot of screen time that we see. And as far as fighting, we really only get one fight, which it lost against the Indominus Rex, which makes sense. It's the Indominus Rex. But the Jurassic World strain of Ankylosaurus, the Masrani version, seems to me to have been a little taller, which it's made its legs a vulnerability, which was how the Indominus beat it pretty quickly, was because it was able to reach over its back and scratch its leg, which allowed it to roll the Ankylosaurus over. I think on the engine version of the Ankylosaurus, this maybe would have not have been a vulnerability. But the next thing I'm going to talk about is their weapons. Obviously, looking at Ankylosaurus, it's probably the most well-armored dinosaur, but equally powerful was its tail club. An extremely heavy, dense piece of bone on the end of its tail that it could swing extremely fast and break the bones of theropods. We see it use this weapon against the Indominus Rex, which is not extremely successful, but then again, the Indominus Rex is ridiculously powerful. It also took a rocket launcher to the side with no internal damage. So, this is still very much an effective weapon that can defeat the likes of most theropod dinosaurs, but it did not seem to be able to break open the cage that it was kept in Fallen Kingdom. Overall, the Ankylosaurus is a pretty powerful creature, and certainly should not be treated lightly, and its tail club could probably take out a Velociraptor in one hit. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Raptor squad, that being Blue, Delta, Charlie, Echo from Jurassic World. These 4 Raptors were created in 2011 and 2012, maybe just 2012, but they were created in 2 different strains and were kept in their paddock on the north part of the island. These Raptors were trained by Owen Grady and a team to see if the Raptors could safely be kept in a park environment, but also by Engine to see if they had any military potential. These 4 Raptors were a very close-knit family group, with Blue being their leader. Well, Owen being their leader, but Blue was the beta. These 4 Raptors, as far as their size, is pretty comparable to the other Raptors in the franchise, around 12 feet long and around the height of a person. They've been described as very intelligent creatures, as we can see especially in the Jurassic Park movies. And these Raptors did somewhat respond to commands. They were extremely fast creatures too. That's going to be very important in this fight, because they're definitely faster than the Ankylosaurus. But I think their intelligence is super important, because if they can't work together, they're not going to win this fight. But if they can make a plan, I think they probably stand a pretty good chance. the Raptors that we see in Jurassic World actually get a good bit of screen time, and we get a good sense of their strength. Most notably, when they fought the Indominus Rex. I don't want to use power scaling too much, because, you know, that's kind of an iffy thing, so I don't want to say, because I don't want to compare the Ankylosaurus fight to the IRX to the Raptors fight with the Indominus Rex. But anyway, at the time that they fought the Indominus Rex, it was, Charlie had already been killed, so it was just a 3v1. Blue was taken out quite quickly, but wasn't killed. And then the other two Raptors lasted a good while. However, they did have help from Owen, who was shooting the Indominus at the same time. However, these Raptors were taken out and killed by a single bite from the Indominus Rex each, which I think that's probably a comparable attack to the Ankylosaurus' tail club. So I think we can establish that a solid hit from the Ankylosaurus would take out one of these Raptors pretty much immediately. So let's talk about the fight. We have 4 Raptors against the Ankylosaurus, we'll say Ankylosaurus. The Raptors, we're going to assume that they don't get the advantage of a sneak attack, they just start right in front of each other, because the Raptors definitely could plan out a sneak attack if they needed to. So we're going to assume the Raptors start right in front of the Ankylosaurus. The Ankylosaurus is probably going to assume a defensive state, probably lower itself as much as it can, but it might just go ahead and take a swipe at them, depending on whether it's encountered Raptors before. If it hasn't, it might be like, oh, they're pretty small, I can take them out, and just try to sweep them. But, I don't know if they would do that. We're going to say that neither of these have encountered each other before. So, if the Ankylosaurus tried to sweep at the Raptors are probably fast enough to avoid it, and the fight would continue from there. This is a very difficult fight, and it could definitely go either way. So, for the decision, I'm going to think on this and wait till the end of the video, and we can go ahead and talk about the other fight, that being the Atrociraptor versus the Spino, or the Spinoceratops. I don't know what its canon name is, they never stated. First, let's go over the Atrociraptors. They're pretty similar to the Velociraptors in most respects, but they are a little bit heavier, bulkier. However, to me, they felt less intelligent. This may have been because they've been trained to follow commands and just listen to what they're being told to do instead of thinking for themselves. This could also perhaps just be attributed that they are less intelligent animals. We don't really have actual stats on this, unless there's some that I haven't seen. But as far as durability, surprisingly, I think the Atrociraptors have lower durability if we look at how both of them reacted to shock weapons. A handheld shock prod was able to fight off a Atrociraptor, while a full Jurassic World Electrostaff only knocked a Velociraptor off of the truck. I think this is probably nuanced. They're probably pretty comparable in strength. And if it was a fight between them, it could go either way, depending on the scenario. So we can take a lot of what I've said about the Velociraptors into account here, and go ahead and talk about the Spinoceratops. So the Spinoceratops was a hybrid dinosaur between the Masrani strain of Spinoceratops and the engine amalgam testing strain of the Spinosaurus. The main genetic donor was the Spinoceratops, as we can see, although they had the sail of the Spinosaurus and notably a longer nose horn. In Camp Cretaceous, we only saw a juvenile form of these creatures, so we didn't get a good idea of their fighting stats, but we did see what an adult creature looks like in Jurassic World Alive, which is well, not like an accurate place if you want to see which dinosaurs are stronger, a lot like Jurassic World the game. But we can see sort of what it would be like. We can see that has a very long nose horn. This would easily be able to one-shot a Atrociraptor, but you can also note that the much like the Ankylosaurus versus the Velociraptors, the Atrociraptors would be the far faster animals and be able to outpace the hybrid pretty easily. And I think it's also probably more difficult to use this long nose horn than it would be to use the tail club. Just looking at it, you can just tell. Basically, this is a pretty similar fight to the first one, except we have lower durability on the side of the hybrid, Spino, but we can see that its sail maybe would help it a little bit. There's really not a lot of information on this creature, so it's hard to make a super educated decision, but assuming it's a little bit stronger than a Spinoceratops, let's go ahead and decide our winners. So, first fight. The first thing I'm going to say is that I think the Atrociraptors would win most of the time in this encounter. I think they'd be fast enough to make a plan, but they're also not the most intelligent creatures, seeing as how easily they were tricked. So, yeah, I'm going to say the Atrociraptors would probably win 6 or 7 out of 10. But when it comes to the other fight, this is kind of hard to decide, because I really don't want either of these to be knocked out of this tournament so early on. I definitely don't want to just put the Velociraptors higher, because they really can't. I feel like even though they could make a plan to survive pretty well, it would be hard for them to deal enough damage to the Ankylosaurus. I know their tail weapons would be pretty effective if they could get its underside, but that's really just going to be basically impossible to do. And even though they are much more intelligent, the Ankylosaurus' durability is probably going to stand the test here. It is 4 Raptors, so I can definitely see them pulling this off. But for this tournament, I'm going to say the Ankylosaurus wins 5 or 6 out of 10 times. Thank you for watching this episode. If enough of you disagree in the comments and comment why you think the other creature would win, I'll change it and have that creature win in the tournament. Hopefully this video doesn't get taken down a bunch for copyright this time. I hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe and like the video so that I can make more of these videos. Thank you.